Hello, everyone. This is Stephen from Âtrium Lab. Welcome to this week's Âtrium X Space. Today we'll be joined by Socius. We have Sierra here already. Welcome. So for those who don't know, Socius is a Japan-based DAO that has a large community over there and is focused on events and making a positive impact on Cardano and the community. So I'm very curious to hear all about it and what you're building and what your plans are for the future. Hey, Sierra, how are you doing? Yeah, it's very crystal clear.
Amazing.
Glad to have you. It's late for you already, I think.
Yes, it's 1 a.m. in Japan, but it's totally worth it.
Great to hear. Thanks for joining. So for the people joining us, make sure you tweet out the space so we get a good crowd. We're still waiting for Peyton. So usually we start the spaces with some news topics, just to have people join us, give them some time, and inform our community what's been going on the last week. Hey Peyton, how you doing? Hey, are you there, Peyton? Yeah, still having some difficulties, I think. Yeah, no worries. We can go ahead and start with the news. So it's been a busy, exciting week in Cardano lately. So we have a whole bunch of news topics we can go over. So first, we have a lot of governance stuff, of course. So this week, off-chain voting ended for the budget requests. So in total, 40 proposals were voted in the current budget cycle, with a total of around 275, I think, million ADA as a total. And Socius also has one approved, if I recall correctly. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'd love to hear all about that proposal and what the plan is later. Are you good to go now, Peyton?
Yeah, I always have a little bit of trouble joining, but once I'm in here, it's smooth as butter. But yeah, I'm here. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, definitely. So the plan now is for Intersect to launch a governance proposal for the budget requests, and then the DREPs will ultimately decide, if this budget request is approved, then we can take this funding from the treasury and distribute it to all of the approved projects. So still waiting to see if the DREPs approve those that 275 million ADA. And if it's approved, then everyone can start their work, I guess. So we also have a governance proposal from Pragma, the other member-based organization in Cardano. Say they requested 1.5 million for the build-out of the Amaru Rust Cardano node. So that will be for 2025, the rest of 2025, to continue development on the alternative Cardano node client in Rust. So that recently launched. A whole bunch of other governance proposals popped up, but we might go into these ones next week once we know which ones will stay, because some seem to be invalid, and we'll check it out next week. And then the big news, of course, was the first trustless, bridgeless Bitcoin transactions between Bitcoin and Cardano from BTCOS. Yeah, you did an interview with the founder of BTCOS. So yeah, maybe you can share something about it, Peyton.
Yeah, I can take this one. I did an interview with him yesterday, and I also posted a video on my YouTube channel kind of detailing it. So if you guys have any time, it's a good place to kind of learn a little bit more. The interview that I hosted with the founder of Bitcoin OS, his name is Yago. That's going to be coming out about right after this space. I've already got it uploaded and everything. I just got to put a thumbnail on it and get it out there. So as far as the what's happening, when you look at that Twitter thread, essentially, could you mute your mic, Stephen? Getting a little bit of feedback. Thank you. So, essentially what's happening is on Bitcoin, they're using something called the Grail Bridge, and it's bringing it to Bitcoin OS. And there was this upgrade that was introduced to Bitcoin a few years ago called the Taproot upgrade. And it actually added a bit of, utility to Bitcoin. This is where you've seen, runes come from and, NFTs being inscribed on the blockchain and, using a similar functionality. They've essentially, minted what they call XBTC. And XBTC is, just like wrapped Ethereum. If you've ever used, any Ethereum, smart contracts, like if you're on Uniswap, you're swapping wrapped Ethereum. You're never actually just using ETH. In Cardano, when you swap on MinSwap, you're swapping ADA directly, right? Whereas on Ethereum, when you're swapping, you're doing wrapped ETH. So, essentially what they've done is they've, brought wrapped Bitcoin that adds utility to the token, and then they've brought that to Cardano. So they use a ZK proof, and then they bring that proof over here on Cardano, and that proof is essentially the entire state, of Bitcoin. It's, saying, yes, there's a Bitcoin there, and the Bitcoin is being, locked essentially with a native script. And then that UTXO, landed, on Cardano. So then they took that, UTXO, and then they sent it to another wallet, and then the other wallet received it, and then they sent it back to Bitcoin. And then once they had it back on Bitcoin, they pulled it out of that script, essentially and unwrapped it and brought it back to regular Bitcoin. So I think that this is a big deal. I think that there is actually, new technology that's coming out of the Bitcoin OS team that's really exciting for, a lot of different blockchains. I said this in my video yesterday. Does this mean that you should, invest in them? I'm not saying that at all. I don't know anything about their team or where they're located when it would come to investing, but it does seem like, real innovation is coming from that team. And I actually did a call with, one of their developers. And, when I was speaking to their developer, they've essentially designed this new technology that they're going to announce over the next month and a half. And they're calling this new technology charms. And what we just saw, we saw this Bitcoin being brought to Cardano. What that actually is, the technology underlying it is something they're calling a charm. And, what I've been told is that every single Cardano native token can be on Bitcoin as they start to build the technology and the tooling around these tokens and this stuff, which is really exciting to me. So, the Atma token that's launching or the Min token, all of these tokens can be brought to Bitcoin. Existing NFTs that you have can be brought to Bitcoin and back. And to me, it really does seem like, we've all hoped for this network of networks, future where, users don't even know what blockchain they're interacting with. And, this is really the first big step that I've seen towards that, given that it all works out well. Because all we've seen in the past is, bridges where, you have a bunch of these assets locked up in a, smart contract that's governed by multi-sig. And you see a lot of issues and a lot of hacks from that. So, I think that this really is, an exciting new innovation. I'm going to be posting that podcast with the founder of Bitcoin OS, Yago, right after this X Space on my YouTube channel. So, yeah, I think it was a big deal. That's my my conclusion so far. I think it's really exciting. And just like we saw smart contracts launch on Cardano and we didn't see a DEX launch at the same time, it's going to be the same thing here. It's going to be on app providers, dApp developers to integrate the nuances that come with this new technology. Your favorite wallets are already working on it, if you've been paying attention to the news, because they also believe technology. So it'll take some time before we see buying Bitcoin directly on MinSwap, but just know there are teams all over the world that are working towards that future. And really what it comes down to is getting the liquidity and then also building the tooling around these new charms. So yeah, exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Still some work to do, but yeah, it's promising. And I'm curious to hear what Charles is working on and the guys from Sundial. Apparently, we should be hearing more at the end of this month, or maybe early June. Yeah, excited. So what else we have? So USDM, the stablecoin from Moneda, is now live for minting by retail investors in some, I think, 19 or 20 different US states. So previously it was only open to retail, large investors, but retail investors can now KYC and, just like anyone else, mint USDM, mint it and burn it as well, which is exciting. Always good to get extra liquidity from as many sources as possible. So
it's such a cool idea to see, like USDM, how far they've come, and now that it's any retail user in any of those states can just take some US dollars, mint it, and put it in their wallet. So big shout out to them. I'm excited to see the constant improvements. Make sure you guys leave a little reply. Click that comment button in the bottom right hand corner. If you have any questions or comments, leave a reply there to push the space out to more people. It's going to be a good show. So.
One more topic that I had was Strike Finance is launching on May 8th. That's tomorrow, actually. So they're bringing a whole bunch of derivatives to Cardano, options and futures trading. So it's it's another development, and hopefully incoming Bitcoin liquidity can make good use of new platforms like Strike Finance. Curious to see how it will go. And one more thing that I had was Charles announcing a face melting testnet where they will test Leos using AI agents to test transaction speeds using Leos. I thought that was a funny one, so I thought I would share that one out. I don't know, maybe I'll run a face melting stake pool for Leos just for the fun of it. So that's all I had for this week. Those are the main topics, I think, unless I missed something, Peyton.
No, I can't think of anything else. I think you covered the news quite well this week, Stephen. Let's get into the SociousDAO. Recently they, in the off-chain voting, the Ecaliza, however you pronounce that, you guys were successfully funded. And as Stephen mentioned earlier, all of those are going to be bundled together and submitted on chain. And can you tell us more about your proposal?
Yeah, sure. First let me introduce myself. I see some familiar faces, but also new faces. So for those who don't know me yet, my name is Sarah Yoon. I'm the founder and CEO of Socius. And I'm also a Cardano ambassador and constitutional committee member. I'm leading the Cardano Japan Council. And Socius, my organization, is an SPO and DREP. So now getting into the proposal. So this proposal is about, it's called Complement Catalyst. And so as the name suggests, our goal is to actually complement Project Catalyst because it has some challenges, and those challenges are not only for Catalyst, but these challenges are actually affecting the whole blockchain ecosystem. So I think you've seen the results of Fund 13 in Project Catalyst, and also you've seen huge voting power concentration in DREPs, right? So this is one of the huge issues in the Cardano ecosystem and also in other blockchain ecosystems. So we're trying to decentralize power to the peripheries, to the edges. But now we see, ironically, power concentrated in few individuals or few entities. And that's what we're trying to solve with this proposal and Socius Fund. So Socius Fund uses quadratic voting mechanism. So maybe you've heard of Gitcoin. So we're actually improving what Gitcoin is doing in different ways. So one thing that we've implemented is the identity verification system using Cardano's Hyperledger Identity. So it used to be called a Thaler Prism. Now it's called Hyperledger Identity. It's the same product, just different branding and different name. So we use DIDs, decentralized identifiers, to prevent Sybil attacks like wallet splits. So it happens, it's important when we are doing quadratic voting because the number of votes counts, not just the how much ADA you have. So it's important to prevent Sybil attacks, wallet splits. But we also want to protect users' privacy. And that's what this Hyperledger Identity allows. So we enable voters to vote anonymously, but we verify that each individual is a unique user, unique human being, not a bot and not a duplicate. So this is what we've been doing. And another thing is we've introduced reputation score system, and this is quite important in quadratic voting as well. So imagine a situation where you go to a place where you have a lot of people, and you ask them, you maybe pay them a small amount of money to vote for your project, and this could actually impact the voting results. But how we are combating this situation is that because of this reputation score, if they are new members, then they will not have a big impact on the voting results. So the existing community members will still have bigger voting power than new members who are trying to attack the system. And there are different problems that we are trying to solve as well. So in the Project Catalyst, they are this is the fund is actually a one-way street. So it comes from the Cardano treasury to the funded projects. But in this system that we are proposing, that funded projects actually contribute their tokens, their shares, or percentage of the revenue, or carbon credits, etc., any kind of assets, if they're successful, back to the Cardano treasury, so that it's not one-way street, but there will be some returns on investment. And we are aiming to achieve at least 5% returns, 5% returns on the funded projects after 10 years. So within 10 years, we want to achieve at least more than the funds that are distributed to funded projects. And another problem we're trying to solve is the impact metrics. So sometimes it's not super clear which projects were impactful, which projects have not been so impactful. And we want to make sure that impact metrics are reported, and this will be obligatory in our system. And finally, so this combines grant funding, so funding coming from Cardano Treasury, but also individual donors can donate to each project. And so this actually becomes a catalytic funding. So Cardano Treasury funds will be the catalyst, and we are asking for 1.5 million ADA in 2 rounds. So one round, 500,000 ADA, another round in 1 million ADA. And with this, we are actually aiming to achieve 2 million ADA in impact. So meaning 500,000 ADA coming from community donations. So the impact will not be only the funds that are coming from the treasury, but it will induce more funding opportunities for Cardano projects. So yeah, these are some of the elements. And one thing that we want to mention is that we are not asking for any operational costs. So we asked, and preliminary we were approved for 1.5 million ADA, and that fund we will not touch as a Socios team, but it will go straight to the funded projects. And this round we are not asking for any operational cost, and we are actually have a minimum threshold of 3,000 identity wallets, so 3,000 votes or voters, unique voters. So we make sure that the funds distributed is not decided by a small number of people, but large community votes. And for your information, for Project Catalyst, the highest votes that the highest voted project usually get 1,500 unique wallets. And for us, it's not just the wallets, but it's actually unique identity, unique human beings. So yeah, this is the project. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you did a great job explaining everything, and we normally have to kind of dig it out sometimes with guests. You did such a great job announcing all that. I'm curious about quadratic voting. What is quadratic voting? I heard you kind of explain it a bit, that you're also taking into like kind of how long the wallet's been there. You're verifying their identity. But how would, say, one user voting with 10,000 ADA compared to one user voting with, say, a million ADA using the system?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So quadratic voting is it's quite common, and it's well talked about in academia and in practice as well. So Gitcoin is one of the most famous examples of platforms that are using quadratic voting. And it's in simple terms, it will square root your voting power. So for example, if you vote with 9 ADA, your vote will be 3 ADA. If you vote with 25 ADA, your vote will be 5 ADA. So what it does is that it will reduce the difference between the poorest and the wealthiest. So at the moment, the biggest, the whale DREP has close to 700 million ADA in the voting power. So if you have 1 ADA, the difference is huge. But with quadratic voting mechanism, that difference will still be a significant difference, but still be much less than just counting 1 ADA, 1 vote mechanism.
That makes a lot of sense. I really like the way that you explain that. And, it seems like a good solution, especially if you're, kind of tracking the ability for people to, split wallets. And you're also verifying that there's a real person, behind the voting. So how long have you guys been working on this?
Yeah, so we've been working on this for more than a year. So we actually asked for Catalyst funding for the platform itself. And first few times, actually, we didn't get funded. And we believe that whales didn't like our proposal for obvious reasons. But yeah, finally we got funding in the last round, and we really worked hard to develop this platform, and the platform is ready. So actually, the pilot round, Socios team donated $10,000 for the matching pool. So you can already test this platform now, the voting is open until the 18th of May. So you can go to socious.org and you can already try DID and Socious Wallet and how Hyperledger Identitas wallet works without revealing your identity. So you will do the KYC, but the platform actually doesn't know who you are. The platform only verifies that you are a unique individual.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome to hear you guys already have that platform live. I've heard I was listening to this space a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of the heads at Catalyst, and they mentioned that they're going to actually change their voting system and they're going to be moving to quadratic voting as well. Are you guys working with them on that at all, or is that kind of two separate systems?
Yeah. So we actually had extensive discussions with Chris, so the product manager of Catalyst, and he came to Japan, and we had in-person discussions as well. So we will be collaborating in terms of timing, and we have we are in collaboration. The difference between Catalyst and the Socious Fund quadratic voting is that the DID part. So Chris believes that people will vote in good faith, so people will not split their wallets to increase their voting power. So therefore, as far as I know, they're not actually implementing DID or any Sybil attack prevention mechanisms, and that is a way to do it. And I think there are some merits to it, because I know that some people don't like doing KYC or even having a DID wallet. So it will increase participation, and it's a solid choice not to implement DID, and that could be the way. So I think it's a very good experiment, and definitely it will increase participation by not implementing the DID part. However, the risk is that there might be people voting in bad faith, and maybe they will be splitting the wallets, or even outsiders from Cardano ecosystem. They just want to, withdraw this 20 million ADA available for Fund 14, and they might be able to get it if they are able to make hundreds and thousands of wallets and then have 25 ADA in each wallet, and they can increase their voting power. And our approach is a little bit more cautious. So we have a DID, but this will be a blocker for adoption and a blocker for actually participation, right? Because they have another step of doing, creating a DID wallet and then verifying. So this is an experiment, and both approaches might be right. And I believe that I'm glad that these two proposals got funded or got accepted in the preliminary round, so that we can experiment these two options. And actually in the future, so I remember 2 years ago in SIP 1694 discussions, we had people who were proposing quadratic voting for the DREP systems, and I was one of the proponents for that as well. And finally, because DID was not ready at the time, and we didn't do it, and there were a lot of oppositions for quadratic voting as well. But this might be a good discussion opener. And actually, after this Fund 14 round and also Socious Fund round, we'll get enough data to start the discussion again on whether we should have quadratic voting for Cardano governance as well. Is it okay to have one person having almost 15% of the votes, and that is already counted? And actually, if you've seen the results of this budget proposal round, most of the proposals that the biggest dearest voted no are not accepted, despite maybe other maybe the number of people voted for might be greater. So this is a huge discussion, and we need more data. And Catalyst and Socius Fund will provide this data for these discussions.
Yeah, it'll be very curious to see the two the two methods of quadratic voting with and without DIDs. Yeah, to see how they stack up against each other. There's so much going on, and with governance, that the more we can test out the different systems, will be great data to have, actually. Yeah, we have Upstream and Quasar here. I don't know if they have a question related to what we were talking about or not.
Oh, pardon me 1 second. Thank you for having the space. Sarah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for hosting the fund. Thank you for experimenting with multiple, types of voting. The fact is we're experimenting, quadratic voting with KYC and without it. I mean, that's data. There's going to be value there. It might work, in one situation, it might work in another. I don't think there's a perfect type of governance, a perfect type of voting for, a universal everything. We have to explore the fact that there's this option. This is a positive thing. This is something that people can get in, and we can educate ourselves and lift the conversation around types of governance and types of voting. There's the quadratic voting. There's also quadratic funding. There's ranked choice voting. There's star voting. Is it one ADA and one vote? Perhaps for blockchain governance in a proof of stake, it's great for that right there. Just blockchain governance in a proof of stake. Perhaps it's not the best for treasury governance. And in fact, there might even be a future space of voting governance, where we could actually say, this is the situation. It'll say, these are the two types of voting processes or methods that are going to produce whatever result it is. Like IOG created Cardano, and it's based on research. And now the community is getting in position to do this research alongside of them. For me, that's positive. That's upbeat. Thank you for the space, and thank you guys.
Yeah, I would actually tend to agree with you, Quasar. Sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted real quick. I agree with you, Quasar. I think that both of these options have a unique set of trade-offs, and quadratic voting, with KYC on one hand could limit people participating in Catalyst, and then with KYC, you're actually stopping that ability from someone to wallet split. So definitely some really good trade-offs here, and I think the data that is going to come from it is going to be really valuable. But sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with Quasar, and thank you for your comment. And it was great to hang out with you in Argentina.
I would go back right now if I could. Hanging out in the pool and swimming with you was great.
I know it was amazing. Same here.
Yeah, we should make it a pact that every time we meet, we have to do it in a pool, a swimming pool like that. That would be awesome.
Deal.
But all right, you guys heard it. I hope the space is recorded. We're putting it on chain. That's where it's going to happen. It'd be great to see a more east and west combination or melding of the community. So thank you for staying up very late or very early to join us here. But we got a lot to learn from one another.
Totally worth it. I know we need to do a much better job bridging Japan and Asia to Americas, and it's a time zone difference. I hate this time difference, because I think language barrier we can learn. I think Taichi's here. Taichi is actually in San Francisco learning English and enjoying JPU program. And I think we can always learn each other's languages, but time zone it's tough, and we need to sacrifice our sleep sometimes. But I think I'm willing to do it sometimes from time to time, not every day, to do this because I get to meet Pei and Quasar, and and Stephen, and amazing people in this space.
Well, I'll do the favor next time. Next time I'll stay up late. You helped us out this time. Upstream, what question do you have for us?
Sounds good.
Yeah, hey guys. Thanks for doing the space for such a great project, in my opinion. So, yeah, thanks for letting me up. So one question I want to ask, and I've spoken to you guys, Celsius, when we were in Argentina. It was great to chat to you and your team. You got some real good technology, so it's really nice to chat to you in person. And when I was there, I mentioned, like, in the UK, I'm trying to do various voting things and trying to use on-chain mechanisms to achieve those results. So one thing in particular that I'm keen to understand is, like, can I use this technology right now to achieve one person, one vote scenarios? And the reason I say that is coming from a Web2 world and the charities I represent in the UK and other things I represent, like, none of these guys know about quadratic voting. In fact, if I mention it to him, I'm probably out of the room and I don't have a job anymore. So I don't mention it. And the only thing that matters to these guys is one person and one vote. So from my perception, I've been exploring ZK proof solutions. I'm halfway through writing my own solutions. I'm 75% of the way through exploring solutions that SociousDAO have to offer, and I'm very much, as a consumer, trying to, like, bridge that final gap. Like, I've got like, for example, in the UK, we represent the British Beekeepers Association that vote on various elements, and it's like tens of thousands of people that vote on the outcomes of this charity. And I really want to take the Web2 models we've got and adopt those to Web3. And right now I'm struggling to do that bridge because it always comes down to this one person, one vote thing. So I was just wondering, like, do you guys have plans or, like, mechanisms or, like, details around that? Like, I understand quadratic vote and all that, but, like, for the one person, one vote, and also how you kind of tie that into ZK, because I know I'm saying a lot here, so tell me to shut up, please. But when you tie that into one person, one vote, we need ZK so that I can authenticate a person, right? So I was just wondering, how far along that ridiculously complex pathway are you? And I don't expect a full solution now, but if you've got some.
Yeah, thank you, and good to see you here. So just to answer your first question, yes, we have the technology. Actually, if I may explain the technology a little bit. So you've done intersect votes, right? And intersect does actually KYC for its members, and intersect committee elections, it's one person, one vote, right? And our system, it allows you to do that, but without revealing your identity. So you do KYC once, wherever you want, and you keep that KYC verifiable credential on your DID wallet, and this is your identity that you own, and you don't need to share. You share only when you want to, and you can share only the part that you want to as well. So that's the principle of self-sovereign identity. And usually the platform, so like in our case, the Socius Fund platform, it only asks for one thing: are you a human being? And can you make sure that there's no duplicate of you, right? So that's the only thing we're asking. And the wallet can prove, without revealing your name, your age, your address, or anything, you can prove that you're a unique human being. So that's what we do. And with using the same technology, we can do that. Okay, so this person is a unique individual, and only that person can vote once, and that's one person, one vote system. And it's going to be quite similar to intersect, but the part that is you're actually keeping your identity secure and private. So that's the part What was the second question? Sorry. ZK part. So I've answered that part. That zero knowledge. So meaning you don't need to share all the information. It's selective disclosure. So you can disclose sometimes only the age information, or only the fact that you are a unique human being, or your address only, etc. So this is the beauty of self-sovereign identity and selective disclosure.
That's great, buddy. Thanks for answering my question. Sorry, my internet dropped out there, so maybe you heard everything I said. I'm not sure, but I heard your reply, so it was great. One other final question I have, if that's okay. So in the for a large portion of my Web2 businesses, I currently KYC using existing systems like Stripe, for example. They have a system called Customer Connect, and I use that heavily so that I can be a facilitator on products. So, for example, like I run gardening products, gardening business, and my product enables gardeners to join my product. Anyway, point is, I currently use Stripe to KYC these guys, and I was just wondering, like, do you guys see yourselves as like slotting into that gap that is facilitated already by Web2 companies and offer a Web2 solution for the same, or are you kind of adding on to that? So maybe Upstream as a company collects all this data. I've already KYC people with Stripe, and then I pass that on to Socius. So I was just wondering how, if you have any thoughts around that process on the existing KYC setups in the Web2 world and how they translate into the Web3 world. I know it's a complicated subject, so I don't expect a full answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can, cheers, bud.
Yeah, thank you. If I understood, so let me answer this way. So if you're a Web2 company, but if you don't need the personal information, it's actually better not to keep your customers' personal information, because if it gets leaked, that's the end of your company, and also it costs a lot of money to keep that information secure. So people spend a lot of money on information security to keep this really sensitive personal information, right? So we actually have a company in Japan selling alcohol, right? And their problem is that they need to verify the age of the customers, right? But in order to do that, they need to keep in before they introduced our solution, they had to keep that personal data, and they spend a lot of money on information security. But only thing they need is that the customer is at least 20 years old. That's the legal age in Japan, and they don't need their names, they don't need their gender or anything. They just need to make sure that their customers are at least 20 years old. So when we come in and then we implemented our solution, so what they were able to do is that they can verify the age of at least, they don't know the age itself, but they know whether the customer is at least 20 years old or not. And with that information is not super sensitive, right? So they actually can reduce their information security cost doing that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we can actually help Web2 companies just help using our solution to not get information they don't need. Age verification should be about age, not about their name, not about their gender or address. It should be about just age, and that is something that we can offer.
That's awesome. That's one of the things I've really been looking forward to in this space is, seeing someone take decentralized identity and actually, productize it and bring it to the real world. One question I have is, you mentioned this quadratic voting system. A lot of, projects on Cardano or dApps or companies, they're all launching DAOs and they're letting their communities, vote, on the future of the DAO, treasury, withdrawals, etc. Can other projects use this system that you guys have created here to facilitate voting for their DAO? Or is it is that not really a focus right now?
Yes, yes. So like our project is open source. So if they want to take that, then they can use it. But also in the future, we want to help other DAOs or any other platforms and communities that need to make decisions, and their decisions want to be more democratic and more fair. Then we can definitely help them with DID based solution, and also our algorithms to make it fair.
You really brought up a great use case earlier, specifically around companies not wanting to hold their user data because they have direct incentives not to. And you also mentioned earlier that with your proposal, your goal is to pay that back to the Treasury with a 5% increase for the Treasury. Considering those 2 points there, what companies do you think you're going to see funded that have kind of like a product market fit in the real world for you to be able to make that return for the Cardano Treasury?
That's a $1 million question. So you can take a look at 9 projects that are requesting funding in the pilot round, and we don't decide who will get it. And I have my personal favorite, and I have my projects that I want to get funded, because they have this element that voluntary contribution back to the treasury, that they might have product market fit in the future. So I can share some projects. So it's actually by long-term Cardano community member Alan. He's based in Japan, in Osaka now, but he used to be based in New York, New Jersey area. So he is an orchestra conductor, and he wants to do a DAO for the orchestra training for especially female conductors. And he's going to donate 5% of all the revenue back to the treasury. And I don't know how much revenue they're going to make, but this is significant. 5% of revenue is quite significant. So hopefully, he's requesting about $5,000 in funding. But in the future, I believe that this will be way more than $5,000. If their successful product and successful project, they will bring back more. So, but there are other 8 other projects that I don't want to give more bias to the voters, actually, because I should be a neutral platform. And but there are 8 other great projects. Please take a look and please vote. And each vote counts. Unlike one ADA one vote system, actually the number of supporters counts in quadratic voting. So please go out and vote at socious.org. And maybe because of your votes, your favorite projects get funded.
Yeah, feel free to share, any directions for the community down below up top, for them to, go and vote on these new projects that are coming in. You got me excited about this new type of voting. I think it really makes sense. I was never really, on the one person, one vote side, but to me, it's quite evident, that there is concentrations of power in the world, and there kind of should be a mix of these two values in a way. And I think that, you guys have an awesome solution here. Tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If you're enjoying the space so far, leave a comment down there as well. We appreciate you all being here. We do these spaces every week at 16 UTC. We bring great projects on. We start off with news, so we appreciate you being here this week. Quasar, what do you got?
All righty. So let's see here. With the quadratic voting, is there a way to create a number or some research, some data for us to see how individuals voted without disclosing their, who they are, but also how much the vote amount was. So, is there a process that shows something that would show the amount versus the individual vote? What kind of data could we possibly see coming out of that?
Yes, so we will publish the voting tally results on chain. So we will not have like live data that you can analyze. It's because we want to avoid manipulations and malicious actors. But we will publish everything by after the voting period has ended. So you will see how many votes each project got, and how much donation they had, etc. All the data will be available.
Okay, so let's take away the actual number of votes, but just straight up how the individuals voted. I think that would almost give us a one person, one vote type scenario. I wonder if that's something that we can deduct or deduce from the process. I think so.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. But I'd like to get back to Socius. Actually, we've gone on a bit of a tangent on quadratic voting. So back to Socius, I was wondering, you have a very large community in Japan, but do you have any suggestions for how the rest of the world, let's say, can interact and contribute to Socius, and perhaps ways that we can reach the Japanese community a bit better?
Yeah, good question. So we've been trying different ways to bridge the Japanese community and the foreign and the global community. So each catalyst round, and this time for budget proposals, we've done a bilingual sessions, online sessions for the vendors or proposers to present their ideas in English, but also we'll have Japanese translation, and Japanese audience will ask questions and we'll translate into English, etc. So this is something we've been doing, and we were lucky to have many participants in these sessions. But I will say meeting people online is very different from meeting people offline in person. So we are actually having quite a few opportunities this year. Charles came to Japan recently in March, and before that, the Cardano Foundation team came. Chris from the Catalyst team came to Japan. So we had quite a lot of visitors for different events in Japan. For the team summit, we had Iagon team came to Japan, and Intersect people, Emergo. So for big events that are happening in Japan, we would love to have you come to Japan and meet the community in person. So usually when Cardano community members come from overseas, we organize community events for Japanese community members, Japanese Cardano community members. So you get to see a lot of Japanese people, and that way, actually, Japanese community members are also very happy to receive foreign visitors, because we know that it's quite far away. Japan is quite far from many places. So we appreciate your efforts making your way to Japan, and this way actually you get closer, and you make friendship. So this is probably the best way that I recommend, is to come to Japan and network. And if you come to Japan, make sure to let me know or let Taichi know, so that we'll organize some events for you and you get to meet Japanese community members. And we have a great opportunity this year in October. So October 7th is a Tech 4 Impact Summit. This is, maybe you've seen some videos Charles gave a keynote speech, and Imargo was fully supportive. They had multiple speakers. And this year, we are expecting all three founding entities and Intersect will come to Japan. And we will have quite a lot of Cardano community members coming from all over the world, from Europe. Actually, we have some members from Latin America coming to Japan. So we are expecting about 2,000 people. And it's Cardano themed, supported by the Cardano community. But also we want to be inclusive of Japanese companies and government officials and politicians will and also media people will come to this event. And this is within Tech Week. So on the 7th, we have this Tech for Impact Summit, which is for Cardano, and we have 8th to the 10th of October. It's a blockchain expo, and it's one of the biggest events in Japan. So the whole week we'll have a series of events. Some of them are Cardano specific, others are more blockchain in general, and they will be massive. I think the most important events this year. So we would love to speak with you. If you are interested, just let me know or let Taichi know. Then we'll help you.
Well, I'll say it. We're interested. I've definitely always wanted to, go to Japan and meet some more of the community members. When I was in, Dubai, I ran into a few Japanese community members for the first time, and they were so kind, and we had such nice conversations. So, to be able to, kind of extend that favor back would be great. So, it's pretty late for you. We appreciate you being here so late. I'm going to do kind of like a quick, Âtrium update for everybody. We've got some of our audience, waiting on it. Last week, I told you guys we were going to get a second smart contract up on mainnet, and I'm happy to confirm that we did. So, we've got both of our, first smart contracts live on mainnet right now. We're doing some testing. We're testing the app. We're working with the legal team, the whole 9 yards to get everything ready and prep for mainnet launch. And, we've been saying it for a few months now, but, no new features until mainnet, and we're getting closer to mainnet. So it's exciting times. Every week we do a code for those that are still using our test net right now at alpha.atrium.io. And then the code this week is positive space impact, right? If you type that in on Âtrium, you can get some XP. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yeah, that's it. Positive impact with a space.
Positive impact. Thank you guys for being here. We do these spaces every Wednesday at 16 UTC. I wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything. Is there any, call to actions, for the audience today before you get some well-needed rest?
Thank you for having me. So just again, please vote for your favorite project at socious.org. That will be awesome. And if you are interested in Tech for Impact Summit in Japan in October, please let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, I shared the tweet in the Jumbotron up top here for the Socius Fund voting. So everyone that's willing and able to can check out the tweet above to go to their platform and start voting on those proposals.
Yes. And for your information, you can only donate in ADA at the moment.
Okay. And did you have anything else, Peyton?
No, that really covers it. We're going to continue, mainnet testing throughout the week. We'll be here for you with another update next Wednesday and another great guest and some more Cardano news. And thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate the speakers coming up too. Quasar and Upstream, always good to see you up here.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sierra, for joining. So for those interested, next week we'll have Nuvola on. Also an exciting project to hear the latest updates from. And thanks for joining. And see you next week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pei.
Thank you all.
Thank you. See you guys.
Have a nice day.
Cheers, guys. Thanks all.